You've probably heard of or seen chords with really weird names like major 7, sharp 11, dominant 9, minor 11, minor 13, right? You've seen these chords. The key to understanding these chords is to realize that the method by which we build them, and I'm talking about chords like the simplest chord, like just a D major chord, the simplest triads, all the way to these super complex chords, the methodology by which we build them is exactly the same. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris. Today you will learn how to harmonize all the way through the stack. What does that even mean? If you don't know what harmonizing is, don't worry about it. I'm going to explain that. And I'm going to also explain why I'm using the word stack here. So don't worry about that. I'm not making up any crazy stuff. This is going to be easy to understand. The origin of this lesson is from an assignment that I put on the Studio. And if you don't know about the Studio, that's my teaching platform. That's available through Patreon, and that's always linked in the description below. That's where I'm interacting with guitar players. I post weekly assignments. You can register for live classes that I'm teaching. Like, that's where it's all happening. So if you like what I'm doing, you like this channel, you want a little bit more, check out Patreon and see if that's for you. Anyway, I posted this assignment in the Studio and it got a lot of energy. Like, people were asking a lot of questions. And as they started through this and they played through the assignment and they used the tabs and they got through the whole thing, people were having these really genuine sort of like aha light bulb moments, right? And if you know anything about this channel, you know that's my jam. I love when you can look at this thing and go, oh, are you kidding? No. Like, those kind of moments are what I live for. So I thought I would bring the assignment here to this wider audience and see what you think. Okay, so I'm going to explain what harmonizing is and why I'm using that word stack. Then we're going to zoom in and I'm going to show you how to do this, right? I'm going to show you how to play these really, really advanced chords by using a very, very simple method, the method by which we build any chord from the simplest to the most complex. Let's start with harmonizing. Chords just don't come from outer space. They're not created by a deity, nor are they conjured by magic. Chords come from scales. And the way you create chords from scales, so I call it like harvesting, is you harmonize the scale. Now, if you don't know what harmonizing is, I did a video here a while back that's sort of like the introduction to harmonizing, like how you actually do it. But I'm going to sort of cover it again here and just summarize it because we're going to be doing a lot of harmonizing when we zoom in. Chords come from scales. Harmonizing is the method by which you get chords. Here's how you do it. Here's an A major scale. Harmonizing is playing that scale in a very specific way. We're going to play every other note, and we're going to play 3 notes in that way. In other words, we're going to play 3 notes using every other note. So here's the first note. The scale sounds like this. But we're going to skip the second note, skip that note, play the third note, skip the fourth note, play the fifth note. The result is this. Those 3 notes make up an A major chord. Any A major chord. All of these chords are A's, and they're all made up of the same notes, just these 3, A, C sharp, and E. But this methodology, right, this harmonization, if you do it from each note in the scale, in other words, we just did it from A, the second note in the scale is B, if we do the same thing, we get this result. From the third note, fourth note, fifth note, 6, 7, and then we're back to the beginning. That's how you build chords. The result here is every single chord that's in the key of A. Those are all the notes in the key of A. We've harmonized the scale. We've sort of harvested all the chords from the scale. The word stack simply relates to how many notes we build, how many notes we stack in this way when we harmonize. I just did 3 here. 1, 2, 3, right? What if I stacked one more note on there using that every other note method? Root 3, 5, skip the 6, go to the 7. Right? That stack is 4 notes. This is a 3-note stack. That's a triad, right? When I stack 4 notes, that's a 4-note stack. I'm going to show you how to harmonize all the way across. And what I mean by that is going from the root all the way across until you get to the root again using this stacking method, this harmonization method, okay? Let's zoom in and I'll show you how to do this all the way across the neck in every position for A major, and you'll see how these really, really complex chords are easily built using this every other note harmonization method. Let's get started. Okay, harmonizing through the stack. Let's stop talking about it and start sticking it on the neck. I just want to say, anytime you get new information, you got to pull it through the fretboard. Don't leave it on a piece of paper. Don't leave it in your dusty brain. Stick it right on the fretboard. That's where it belongs. That's where you're going to be able to retain it. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to use a 2-octave major scale. Let me just play that for you. I'm going to put that on the screen here. 2 octaves of a major scale, and I'll explain why in a moment. Root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Root. Okay? And obviously you can see that it repeats after the root. Captain Obvious again. The reason we're doing this is because when I play every note in the scale, I can play every note in the scale in 1 octave. When I play every other note in the scale, it takes me 2 octaves to get all the way through. In other words, it takes me 2 octaves to play every single note in the scale because I'm using every other note. Another Captain Obvious moment, but you know, when I realized that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm just going to play it for you now, but then we're going to dig in. Watch what happens. Root, 3, 5, 7. Then I hit the 2, 4, and the 6. Then I'm back to the top, right? So root 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, root. Now, remember back in elementary school when we were counting in 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do you appreciate? 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. That method is very helpful here because as we're speaking about chord tones, it's harder for us to go 7, 2, 4, 6. So what we really want to do is rename these last 3, the 2, 4, and the 6, to the 9, 11, and the 13. Now listen to what happens. Root, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. That's why these are renamed. That's why these 3 notes are called 9, 11, 13 in that second octave, and specifically when we're talking about chord tones. Because this harmonization, playing every other note, what we're doing is we're building chords. Even though these are arpeggios, these are all chord tones. And this is where the real meat of this exercise comes into play. Okay, so that's why we're using 2 octaves. That's why these 2, 4, and 6 get renamed to 9, 11, and 13. So that's sort of our canvas. I'm going to take away the lower third because it's going to get a little confusing. I just want you to hear what I'm doing and watch what I'm doing. I've tabbed all this stuff out, so if this lesson piques your curiosity, you can always grab the tabs from the link in the description. Okay, I'm going to do this one again, but now I want to show you what's happening here and why these chord tones make a difference to how we look at a scale. So here's our scale. Here's our chord tones. In other words, I'm harmonizing all the way through that stack. Root, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, root. Pretty logical. It's all working really nicely. Watch what chords I can build here. So root 3, 5 suggests a major chord. The root, the third, and the fifth build a major chord. Root 3, 5, 7, that builds or suggests I build a major 7 chord. Root 3, 5, 7, 9, I'm going to move that up an octave, suggests I build a major 9 chord. Pretty nice. Root 3, 5, 7, 9, 11 suggests I build a major 11 chord. I'm going to move this over here. That's really cool. These are sounds that maybe I've never heard inside this scale before, especially in this context. Root 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. What if I add this chord, this note to the chord? Check this out. major 13, right? And again, what we're seeing here is the further you get away from the root, the more sort of exotic and interesting these notes start sounding, especially when you put them into a chord. Okay, so that's basically the sort of the method that we're using. I'm going to go through a few of the modes in this key. So this is A major. You don't have to know about the modes, just know that the next thing I'm going to do is play all those same notes, the A major scale, through 2 octaves, but I'm going to start and end on B. Here's what it looks like. Same notes exactly. I'm just starting and ending on B. It's a new scale. This is called B Dorian. Now watch what happens when I harmonize this stack. It's different than this one. Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 11, 13. So let's just check out some of these chords. Root, flat 3, 5 suggests a minor chord. That's how we build a minor chord. The root, the flat 3, and the 5th. Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, build a minor 7 chord. Use that chord all the time. Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 9. I'm going to take that up an octave and build a minor 9 chord. Wow, that's cool. Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 11. I'm going to move this note here and build a minor 11 chord. If you're a fan of Mary Spender, she uses this chord all the time. Then I call this the Mary Spender chord. Minor 11, B minor 11. Root flat 3, 5, flat 7. 9, 11, 13. Here's a minor 13 chord. That's pretty cool. Right? So interesting. Same exact notes from the A major scale. Starting and ending on B, that becomes Dorian. And when you harmonize, these notes start to change, right? The relation of the stack to B starts to change, and you get all these cool chords. Very, very cool. Let's do another one. The third note in the scale, 1, 2, 3, happens to be C sharp. A major scale through 2 octaves, starting and ending on C sharp, sounds like this. This is the Phrygian mode. So let's harmonize this stack. Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9, 11, flat 13. Let's start seeing what this is all about. Root, flat 3, 5 suggests a minor chord. Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, minor 7. So far so good. Pretty much just like Dorian, right? Now check this out. Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9. That's a half step. Right? This is weird, right? Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9. Very strange chord. Not sure I would ever use that. Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9, 11. There's our Mary Spender chord. Minor 11 works great. Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9, 11, flat 13. Listen to this. Minor 7 chord with a flat 13 on the top. So now we've got minor with a flat 9 and minor with a flat 13. Not chords that I would be using in a rock and roll song or in a blues tune, but they're starting to make me hear this mode, this Phrygian mode. So if I had a melody that was like this, maybe, Next one is Lydian, starting on the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's D in this key. A major scale through 2 octaves, starting and ending on D. Sounds like this. Also called the Lydian mode, D Lydian. When we harmonize this stack, here's what we get. Root 3, 5, 7, 9, sharp 11, 13, back to the root. So root 3, 5, major, root 3, 5, 7, major 7, root 3, 5, 7, 9, major 9, nothing new here, right? Root 3, 5, 7, 9, sharp 11. Here's where the gold is in Lydian. D, major 7, sharp 11. Right? Looking at the mode this way and stacking, harmonizing through this stack really gets you the sound of the mode because you're using this all in the relation of chord tones. How do these sound as chord tones against that root? I'm going to do one more from the 5. Root 2, 3, 4, 5 is E. Here's an E, right? A major scale through 2 octaves, starting and ending on E. E Mixolydian, A major scale, starting and ending on E. Here's what it sounds like when we harmonize it through the stack. Root 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 11, 13. So the big change here is the flat 7 and the major third. Check this out. Root 3, 5 says major. Root 3, 5, flat 7 says dominant chord. So I know I've got a dominant chord here. Very cool. Root 3, 5, flat 7, 9. I can build a dominant 9 chord. Best voicing for that is this right here. Dominant 9. You might also recognize this with the root on the A string. Here's E9. So here's our E9 chord. Root 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 11. So here's a dominant 11 chord. A little weird, but cool because you've got this half step here. Pretty cool sounding chord. Root 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 11, 13. This is one of my favorite chords, dominant 13. I believe that Stevie Ray Vaughan used a 13 chord for Lenny, I think. That first chord, I believe, is a 13 chord, dominant 13. All right, so that's it. I'm going to stop at Mixolydian. I've done Aeolian and Locrian, and those are in the tab. So if you're really curious about this and you're really hungry for more, head on over to Patreon and grab the tab so you can get all this stuff. But so interesting to see that even in this major scale, we've got all kinds of these crazy voicings, right? Like, what about this one? Like, listen to some of these chords. Minor 11, that's a star, isn't it? Major 7, sharp 11. Dominant 13. Really, really cool. Harmonizing through the stack like this of any scale, and I'm just using the major scale in a few of the modes here, really starts to get you to hear the sound of these upper extensions in relation to the root, and that's what defines how these scales and how these chords are built and what they sound like. It really exposes the personality of any scale. Try this with any scale you know. Maybe it's harmonic minor or melodic minor. You can find out a lot about a scale, what the potential sounds are, and how the scale's personality is sort of hidden in there by harmonizing through the stack. Okay, harmonizing all the way through the stack. Using that harmonization method to get from the root all the way to the root again. Turns out it takes 2 octaves, and you realize the 1, the 3, the 5, the 7, the 9, and the 11 and the 13, just like I showed, right? And that 9, 11, 13, that's really the 2, 4, and the 6. But the further away they get from the root, the more interesting their personalities are, right? They're not really close to the root, they're way far away, and that gives them an interesting personality and a unique sonic sort of signature. Okay, I hope you found this interesting. I hope this sparks your curiosity about how chords are built. Again, this method works from building the smallest chords to the most complex, right? I hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you found it interesting, and I'll see you next time.